All right, everybody, guess what? It's that time again. And believe it or not, this is just happens to be, okay? Don't come after me. It is Friday, and guess what? My guest's name is Friday as well. I'm not that smart to kind of coordinate that whole thing. It just happened to be. But thank you, everybody, for watching. By the way, don't forget, please subscribe. It does help a ton. And also hit the little bell because that's going to notify you every time we have a wonderful other video like this one. Friday. Happy Friday. How are
Happy
you?
Friday to you.
I mean, you cannot be mad or sad with that kind of name. There's almost like a big expectation. That must be a big responsibility having that name.
It is a big responsibility. You know what happens? Everybody remembers my name because it's Friday. And
Oh.
the curse is that I was born, like, it's very difficult for me to remember people's names. It's the absolute
All your
curse of
energy is
having big
remembering your
friends.
own.
It's terrible.
I didn't expect that response. So that is
No, but
very, very funny.
I
Hey, by
love
the way,
being
my name
good.
isn't
Love
Friday, and I have trouble remembering people's names. So I have no excuse whatsoever.
no, I have an
So
excuse.
tell me about your last name. Where does, is it Apaliski?
Apaliski, yeah.
Yeah. Where does
Apaliski.
that come from?
Well, it's my husband's name,
Mhm.
and it comes from um, what is now Yugoslavia,
Oh, okay.
um,
Got it.
and or sorry, it comes from what is now Croatia
Okay.
and was
Got
Yugoslavia,
it.
um,
Yes.
and it was misspelled on Ellis Island.
So
So,
it's actually with a Y or what?
well, it's supposed to be Opalaki, but
Oh,
it's this
Palaki.
beautiful, it's this beautiful cursive O that kind of like dips down, and somebody clearly mistook the O for an A. And
Wow.
now we are
Amazing how these things
Apaliskis.
happen.
I know.
Misspellings become a history lesson. How, who knew?
Who knew?
Anyway, so
Well,
thank
we
you very
found
much.
out because we got the papers from Ellis Island and we were like, this is very interesting.
Yeah, you're like, who are these people? They got a similar, but not really the same last name. Oh, somebody misspelled it. Hey, you know what? That's why they say don't drink on the job, please. Okay. Don't do it. These things happen. You rewrite history over here. Very good. So thank you so much for being on my show here. Wanted to talk to you a little bit because I know that you're a pro at sustainability. And this has been a buzzword now for quite a while. But I say that the word sustainability is a green word, which means different things to different people. Tell me what your definition of sustainability is.
You're absolutely right. Sustainability means something different to everybody. And I mean, really kind of the standard, I would say, definition of sustainability is to sustain, right? To stay in balance, to stay the way. And when we're thinking about the climate crisis and what's happening with our environment, we're beyond the point of sustainability, right? That was the goal 30 years ago, to be sustainable.
Mm,
Now, really, we probably should be more concerned with repair and regeneration. But so to me, the way that I use sustainability is really to talk with people in their homes about how they can live in balance with the environment.
mm,
No one is perfect and we can't
of
do it
course.
all, but how can you be better for the environment in a sustainable way? A way that you can keep doing it, right? Because it's important to live sustainably for the environment, but also it's important for us to have a sustainable lifestyle, right? One that we can keep on doing, one that doesn't break us.
Right.
And so often, I shouldn't say so often, but historically, I think that the environmental movement has really come across as deprivation, as not sustainable, as difficult and and about living without. And that is
Mm,
not at all what I and it's not my philosophy, and also it's not really the science. What we have to do is cut out waste, and if you can cut out waste, you can still have all the things you want.
Yeah, and even if you start small, right? Because my opinion of just from observation has been it's an all or none thing. And you either, right, you either save the entire planet or you know what I mean? And it's almost like people get demonized for just doing some as opposed to all out your 24 hours of your living being is about, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think
totally.
that
It's
that's kind
really
of hurt
easy.
that movement that it's
It's easy to
just
go
do
down the rabbit
something.
hole of
Right.
like, well, if you do this thing, then you have to do the next thing. And if you do that thing, then you have to do the next thing.
Yeah, it becomes an obsession almost, right? And it
It
has to
does.
be
And
perfect.
I hope that it does become an obsession for my clients. And I have seen that when you do take baby steps, it then becomes easier
Right.
to take the next steps. But
Correct.
I am all about better is better. Nobody is perfect. And
Yes.
I think there is a reasonable distinction between people who live within the structure of this society. It is harder to make sustainable choices, to make green choices when you are just a person who lives within this structure. When you are a business, you write the rules. So I hold business to pretty tight account.
Mm.
And I think that it's worth um, our attention to detail when business says, oh, look, I'm making a baby step. My response is, your business, you write the rules, you need to do better than baby steps. But
So you hold
for
them to
the
higher
rest,
standards. Got it.
yes,
Because they're the
but
one
for
they're
the
the
rest
leaders.
of us, yeah, for the rest of us, I think we do the very best we can and we talk about it. I think that's so important is not only did you buy whatever product that didn't come in plastic, but you wrote to the other people and said, I wish I could buy your product, but it comes in plastic, so I cannot. Or I bought this sustainable shampoo and I love it. And I want to tell everybody that I love it because I want to normalize this. Right. And that there's a lot to that is leading by example
That makes sense.
and voting with your dollars. Right. We
Yeah,
have
yeah,
power in
because we
that
do.
way.
Whether we would look at that way or not, the reality is that every time you spend a dollar, you're voting.
That's
That's
right.
the truth, whether you
And you
like it or not.
send a message to those businesses that they need to
Absolutely.
do better. And I think that that is really
Absolutely.
important. But holding ourselves to the standard of perfection is, um, it's just not helpful in any way.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a rabbit hole, and it's
Yeah.
more of an illusion than anything. So how does one start? What are your recommendations on how one starts?
So there's a zillion places to start. I would say start with the thing you find most interesting,
Hmm,
right?
okay.
So a lot of people, I think, immediately go towards waste and like recycling and composting because that's what we kind of think of a lot when we think about the environment or being green. But here's the truth: you deal with waste like a million times a day. There's a zillion decisions every time you have a meal, every time you leave your house,
Yeah,
every time anything, right? And that is a lot to take on if that's your very first thing, right? And it's constant and it feels really overwhelming. So I like to direct people who are starting to do something that they can make a one time change.
hmm.
Right? You only have to change it once and then
Oh,
you're
okay.
done and you're on the path to sustainability.
Wow.
So, for example, I love LED light bulbs. And light bulbs are a great change because you change them one time and you're done. You don't, LED light bulbs last for 10 to 20 years. So you're not going to be changing. Once you do it once, you're done for a good long while. And an LED light bulb uses 85% less electricity than an incandescent bulb, times however many you have in your house, which is,
And it looks better.
yeah.
And the light that it emits looks better, right?
Well, some people have a hard time. I'm going to give you some tips on how to pick a really good light because
Okay, excellent.
I have a hard time with that. But that's one place that's really great. Then you don't have to nag on your family to constantly be turning the lights off.
Right.
Um, and and you have done something that is measurably positive and you don't and it just continues being that way for the next 10 years, right? So that's a great place to start. So I brought a light bulb box because I want to share some tips with you on how to
Oh,
pick a
excellent. All
good
right. We have
light bulb.
visuals.
Yeah. Okay. So on the back of every single light bulb box, there is lighting facts.
Okay.
And lighting facts are kind of like nutrition facts. And they're on every single box, kind of
Minus
like
sugar and salt.
Right. Okay, so there really are two very important aspects of lighting facts. The first one is light appearance or color, and that's this part on the bottom.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's usually some kind of scale there, um, but sometimes it's just a number. And because not a marketing person decided this, instead, a scientist decided that we are going to measure the color of our light bulbs by degrees temperature of the sun. It's not at all
Okay.
intuitive. It's very annoying, but we're going to learn it. Not so bad. So, what I'm going to tell you is
I'm back in
27,
school.
we're back in school. 2700 Kelvin. Kelvin is the
Yep.
degrees. Okay.
Yep.
2700 is like a normal incandescent bulb. That would be
2700 Kelvin. Okay.
2700 is kind of 1 to 1. Okay.
Got it.
Then if you want something like in a den or in like next to your bed, someplace where you want to have more warmth, maybe more cozy feeling, you might go down that scale to 2400 or 2200. It's going to get more and more yellow.
Got it.
If you're in your bathroom and putting on your makeup, or you're in the kitchen and you want your food to be presented just perfectly,
Go higher.
then you might want something a little bit whiter, a little bit more, less yellow, a little bit whiter. And in that case, I would say go up the scale to like 3000, maybe 3500. What you don't want to do is end up in that 4000 to 6000
And
range.
completely overexposed where you're like,
Well, it's not so much bright, but what it is very blue.
oh, very
It,
blue.
it's very blue. And
At what
so,
point does it go blue?
it
Or
goes around like 4000 and then it gets
okay.
more so
That's
that way.
that's important to know. I'd say I had no clue. Okay.
And when you go to the store, the box will say daylight. And you're like, oh, yeah, I want daylight. No, you
No,
don't.
you don't.
Daylight is very blue. And it's
Oh,
fine if you're at the dentist office, if you're
right.
at a warehouse, if you're in a school where during the day you want a really sunlight, bright light, like a really white color or even on the edge of blue. But in your house, it's going to feel very jarring, especially as the sun goes down, this very blue
Mm,
light. I have some people like it, and that's fine, but most people find it a little bit uncomfortable.
interesting.
So steer clear of that when it comes to color, at least in your home. If you're in
Right.
an office,
Different
4000
story.
might be perfect,
Right.
and you're only open during business hours, that might be great. So it's really about picking the right color for the right application.
Understood.
Um, and then normally you would say, when I want a bright light bulb, I want a 100-watt bulb, right? That's kind of how we talk about brightness.
Pretty standard. Yes.
But watts is actually the measure of electricity that you use. So no LED bulb is going to be more than 10 watts, right? But you want a bulb that has a lot of brightness. So what you're looking for is lumens. And that is also here. It's at the top. See how brightness is measured
Yep.
in lumens.
In lumens.
So a normal, like maybe 75-watt equivalent bulb is going to be somewhere between 600 and 800 lumens. Okay. Then if you, again, want something more cozy, maybe something in a dining room or something in your, your bedroom, you might want a little bit less. So you might go down to like 300 or 400 lumens. And
Got
if
it.
you are in the kitchen or outdoors or someplace where you want really a lot of light, you want like very, very luminous. In that case, you might pick something that's like somewhere between 1,000 or 1,600 lumens.
Got it. Wow.
That's
Who
so
knew?
who I know, there's
And
so
this
much.
is just one light bulb conversation. What?
Yeah. So then you go to the hardware store and you stand there and there are 100
Yeah.
options. There are 100 options and it's so overwhelming. So here's my homework for you all. Do one room at a time.
Mm, good advice.
Don't do one bulb at a time because you'll never find that same bulb again. Count all the bulbs in one room. Go get that number of bulbs so they're all the same, so they'll have consistent light, and you'll be able to see the change on your electric bill.
Yeah.
So if you can do your whole house, it'll take you a weekend, but it will be totally worth it. And you'll be able to see how much you save right away. But smaller chunks, one room at a time.
That's great, great advice. Wow. And that's just the start, folks. I mean, look, we could be here all day, all week. I mean, this was just one light bulb. Were you taking notes? Hopefully you were.
I hope you
All
were.
right. Now let's talk about, I think you do offer an earthquake kit as well, right? Because I
I
mean, look, we do live in San Francisco in the Bay Area, it likes to shake and rattle and dance.
It does. I grew up here. I actually my house was less than a mile from the 1989 epicenter. So I have always had a really good earthquake kit because of that. But what I have come to realize is that resilience and sustainability really go hand in hand.
Mm.
And light bulbs actually is a really good example of this. So remember about 20 years ago, it was really the hot thing to have these twisty CFL light bulbs.
Yep.
And nobody liked them because they were slow to turn on and they were
Yep.
ugly in color. They made everybody look green. They were
That's
terrible,
true.
but they're all over the place. Or same kind of technology, those long tubes, fluorescent tubes. Here's the deal. All of those light bulbs have mercury inside of them.
Mm.
They don't hurt you, but in an earthquake, if they break, you have a mercury mess that you cannot
Wow.
clean up.
See, I even thought about that. Yeah, that's
Right.
crazy.
So when I look at this, I want you to just have a mess, not a hazardous mess. That's the way I think about earthquakes. You're going to have a mess to clean up, but I want you to be able to do it safely and I want you to be prepared for it. And I don't want it to be a hazardous mess. I just want it to be a
Makes
regular mess.
sense. Yeah, makes sense.
So what I would do is talk you through like where do you live and who's in your household, who's going where, and what's
Oh,
all
so this
happening.
is personalized. Okay.
Oh, very personalized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's not
because
like
there's
here, just
no,
give me the X amount of dollars. Here's your kit. It's
no,
personalized. I
no.
like that.
Can't do anything like that because I just find that every person is different.
It's
Every
different.
family is different, and
Very true.
every household's approach to sustainability is going to look different, and everybody's needs after an earthquake or
That
an
is true.
emergency is going to look different.
You
And
can't
so
cookie cutter it.
really I am all about being totally prepared, like writing your plan, getting you all the best
Mhm.
materials so that you can comfortably or as comfortably as possible manage after a big giant earthquake, which, you know, I hate to say this, but you're gonna have to use it.
At some
But,
point.
Ed, you're a math guy and you know this. The numbers say we're gonna have to use it.
It's
So
not
it
a
is.
matter of if, it's a matter of when.
I
Very
have
true.
clients who sometimes say, "Oh, this is kind of expensive insurance for something I hope never to use." And I say, "It feels expensive up front, but you, after an earthquake, would ask yourself, would I spend this money to now be totally prepared?" Yes. Yes, I absolutely would. And this isn't an if you're going to, there's no hope I don't have to use it scenario. You're going to have to use it.
Yeah, I look at it this as an analogy would be, yeah, sure, you can pay $8 or whatever it is for a pack of cigarettes and spend, $300,000 on, medical bills because of it, or reverse it, spend a little bit more up front.
Right.
That way you don't have the enormous or ginormous medical bill, right?
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
It's the
Um,
same thing.
yeah, and some of that is also like lowering your stress, right? I think a lot of people
Yeah.
feel this like monkey on their back
Yeah,
about,
that sense of security, right?
I should be prepared. I'm supposed to do this thing, but I just
The
feel
shoulds.
overwhelmed by it. And yeah, the shoulds are terrible. But that's really what I do is help people get rid of those shoulds.
Yeah, that's why I say don't should on yourself.
No,
Don't do it.
but if you are doing it, you can call me and I'll help you.
And you will unshould them. Yes.
Yes,
You will
yes.
stop the bleeding.
And
Very, very
and
good.
nobody should feel bad about that,
That's
right?
true.
That we all
Yeah.
need help. It takes a village. Nobody should be beating
You're
themselves
right.
up over
Yeah, this
not
isn't about
getting.
shaming anybody. It's just giving you resources and tips so that you can take some action. That's all.
That's right.
It's not about
That's
shaming
right.
at all. Well, hey, on that note, how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, well, my phone number is here on my name, but also I have a website. It's called sustainabilityconcierge.com. So you can go there, you can find out more about
Sustainabilityconcierge.com.
my services.
Awesome.
You can send me an email directly from there or sign up
Okay.
for alerts. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, and if you like my tips, I'm also on Patreon. So you could find me there. That's where I put content,
Oh,
um,
good.
multiple times a week. So yeah, so people, I'm available
You're
and
there.
I'm ready
And
to work
so on
with you.
Patreon, we just look you up as Friday Apaliski
You can find me as Friday Apaliski or as Sustainability Concierge.
Concierge. Okay. That makes total sense. Well, thank you again so much. This has been very enlightening. I will never look at another light bulb the same as of right now.
I'm glad to hear that. That makes me feel so good.
I'm sure it does. I love that you're so passionate about this because it's very telling on your dedication to making the planet a better place. And for that, I thank you. And I speak for all of my audience. We thank you as well. So you take care. And don't forget, guys, reach out to her because she's got a lot more information. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Friday.